So this morning we're going to do a tutorial on how to make this type of decrepit looking ceiling where we use Dollar Tree foam board, some coffee stir sticks, and some cardboard to get this effect, and some paint. So that's what we're going to do. Let's set the coffee out of the way. Okay, so of course the things you're going to need: Dollar Tree foam board with the paper removed. We're going to need some cardboard. I've got just box. It's not a large box, but use whatever cardboard box you have. You can always cut it to size. One of the flaps was the exact size that I needed, and I can do multiple pieces with this one little piece. This one did the one piece, and I just use a large kind of piece to cover that, just for the sake of, you know, not wasting too much time getting that done. Some moss, if you want moss to look like it's coming through. If you're, depending on how decrepit you want your ceiling to look, what kinds of things you want to come through those rafters. If you want to light it up, you'll need some sort of a light source. I do happen to like mine to have a light source in it that's hidden, because I like to be able to turn that light on and make it look like daylight's coming through, or maybe light from the upstairs is coming through. If this is a downstairs room like mine is, it's going to be a downstairs, and I want the illusion that light from the upstairs is coming down. You will need some coffee stir sticks or some skinny sticks. Sometimes we get the skinny sticks from the craft store. Hot glue is okay on this, because we're going to mostly be gluing the coffee stir sticks to the cardboard. Hot glue and foam don't usually mix because hot glue will melt the foam somewhat, but in this case, if it melts my foam in a couple of places, I'm not going to be mad about that, because I'm going to make it kind of ugly anyway. So that's all right. So the first thing we're going to do, or the first thing I did, I measured my ceiling, and I'm using the Greenleaf Pierce house, and I'm doing the downstairs living room, dining room type area. It's the big L shape with the stairs and the down. I'll insert a picture. That's the area I'm doing. So I'm doing my ceiling in 2 parts, because it's too hard to try to get one piece of foam board as an inserted ceiling and then put the staircase back in. It was just too much. It really was testing my revival trying to do that. So I did 2 pieces, and it'll just go in like that into my room. And this, of course, will be the part that you'll see when you look in the room. This will be the part that's up against the existing ceiling now. So if you want to not confuse yourself like I did yesterday, mark this one as top, and this as the bottom, because this is the top that will go against the existing ceiling that you have, and the bottom is what you're going to see when you look in the room. So if you're going to have to make your ceiling in 2 pieces like I did, or multiple pieces, you're going to want to remember how they butt up in there together, because it'll be like a puzzle piece. And then when you join them in the room, if you can see the seams and you can see where they butt up, it's okay. We'll just disguise that with peeling paint or a water stain, or we'll just gut that out a little bit and make it another one of these ugly places with rafters or some stuff coming through it or whatever. There's ways of doing that. So I've drawn out where I want these to be a little bit broken up on the paper, but I pressed hard enough on this paper so that it went through to make an indentation into my foam. Now I'm going to remove the paper. I'm so sorry. I know this is going to sound awful, and I know this is a sound that's not good. Feel like a band-aid. I'll just do it quick, like a band-aid. We don't want the paper. We don't need the paper. if yours comes off in one solid sheet, you can save the paper. It's good for drawing out other things or to use. I use some of this on those water pipes when I did the kitchen sink. I use some of this paper to wrap around the Q-tips to make those water pipes in the drains. So the paper comes in handy for a lot of stuff. Okay, now that we've got that done, all right, we're going to take just a utility blade. And I'm just going to score out where I've already got that traced. If it's not exact, I'm not going to be mad about it. It's foam board, and I'm going to save this piece. It was just an example of how I thought the ceiling might cave in if the house has been left for a while. It wasn't exact. I'm not an architect. Okay, so now I'm going to take this piece of cardboard, and I've already painted black. The reason we want black is because when this goes behind where we're going to put the rafters, you want that to be black. Your darkest color, your black, is going to be what gives it depth. It's going to be what makes it look like this is deep. It's going to make it look like when you look up into that room or you take a picture into that room, with black being behind these rafters, it's going to give it some depth because there's different colors, and the black being behind everything gives it depth to pull it in. It's going to pull it backwards. Anything you want to be pulled deeper, you're going to paint it your darkest color. Anything you want to be highlighted and pulled to the front, you're going to do that your lightest color. That's why we do the dry brush in like the white or the really light color. We dry brush those things that we want pulled forward, because white pulls it forward, black pulls it backwards. So that's why we're doing that. Now I have to cut this little piece off. I knew there was a little piece here, so that it kind of is even with my foam, like that. All right, so I've already taken some of my coffee stir sticks and gotten a little pile going right here. I don't know if you can see them here or not, but what I'm going to do is show you how I did that. Now, you can cut the rounded end off if you want to. That's fine. I have on some, and some I've just left them. It doesn't matter, because the way we're going to get these that are going to be our rafters, it's really scientific. We're going to break it, and we like the jagged edge. Now, some of them I want to be almost like a V shape, like it's broken. Like it's a broken timber and it's attached on each end, but it's broken in the middle. So I'm just going to take and push it forward. Don't break it all the way through. Come behind there a little bit, break that off. Now I have like a V shape, but it's still attached in the middle. And I can attach that on here, and that is going to be just like a broken timber, and it'll be embraced down. So that's going to give me like that 3D effect. It's still attached on each end, it's just broken in the middle. And this one, I'll just leave it the way it is. And we're just going to continue to do that. You can break them even, you can break them just random. We just want random pieces of broken board. Okay, now we've got different sizes. Mine has different sizes that I'm going to need to use, because going across, I can get up here and show you a little better. Going across, I'm going to need a different length of the coffee stir stick to go across here than I will across here, than I will across here. So different sizes will be fine, and you're going to want to stagger them somewhat in here depending on how broken up you want this to look. Kind of like, if you can see, not all of these go all the way across, not all of them are even, not all of them are the broken up bent ones. They're just random. They're just random, and that's okay. That's what we like. That's what I like. I like random. Doing this type of dollhouse stuff, it's actually my favorite. I love doing the abandoned, broken down, left in time, somebody walked off and forgot it. It's my favorite type to do. Now, I did trace out the shape of what I'm going to be doing here, because I want to come behind that and cut some of that off. I don't really need all of that, and I might be able to use the piece that I cut off over here so that what I've already painted, I can just reuse it. I'm just going to leave myself enough of a lip around where I traced it. I don't know if you can see where I traced it. And I've left enough of a lip around it so that I can put it back on here. And I can get that glued into place. Okay. I'm not going to glue it exactly on my trace line because I want to have room to fiddle with it and be able to push my coffee stir sticks back up in there. And it's going to be really good that I can take the points of some of these and it'll actually push into the foam. So if you leave your rounded edges on there and you're like, oh no, what do I do? You can just press that and it'll go right inside that foam and it'll kind of hold it. And then you can glue the other end, or you can just stick a dollop of glue on there. Clean off my nozzle now that it's hot. Okay, so let's just start adding some of these on, and I'm going to try to figure out how to speed this up. I don't know how to do that yet. I'm just learning, as y'all can tell. I'm just in my living room figuring this out. Up there. I don't want to be able to look at it and be like, oh, that's a piece of cardboard. No, I don't want that. Okay, so that's what I have going on right now. I don't know that you can tell it looks like a broken down rafter roof or not, but that's what we have. It's kind of hard to see at this angle, but that's what it is. Let's see if this is any better. All right, now once we get to this part, you can either stain these now, or you can make the holes to insert your lights. Now I'm probably just going to stain mine, but I'm going to show you how to do the lights, because I will add lights to mine. I'm not going to add them yet because I want to get mine in the room first and then decide what is going to be the look and aesthetic that I want for this particular room, because I will paint this ceiling around all of this, and I'm going to make some peeled paint on this ceiling with like the latex and stuff so that the paint can roll and peel and be all wonderfully ugly and disgusting. But wherever we're going to put some lights behind here, I don't want to see the LED, so I'm going to poke a hole in between some of these rafters, and that way I can put my LED light through there, because I've got a couple of different options. I've got this type of a light. I think these are like bottle lights. They maybe go down in like wine bottles or something. I've got these. And then I've got these that I ordered from Amazon. And they're about the same kind of a thing. They just have a different type of an on and off switch that's a little easier to hide. That's a little bit easier to hide. It comes with its own little screwdriver, a little tiny mini screwdriver to change the batteries and whatnot in that. Just because I have this already open and stretched out, I'm going to use this for the example. Before you put your holes in here and put your LED placement, you're going to want to decide how you are going to hide your on and off switch, because that's going to be important. Find the place in your house where you can disguise this. Maybe there's a spot in your house, in the ceiling, behind a doorway. Maybe you can put it in the floor inside of a planter. Build a piece of furniture and put this inside of that, let this cord come behind it. I don't know. There are a lot of places to hide these, and I've hidden them in a lot of places. In one of my kitchens that I made completely out of cardboard, I hid this little sucker in the trash can beside of the refrigerator, and it's in the trash bag. So when I want to turn the lights on for the kitchen that go like the under cabinet lights and the light for in the refrigerator, because it's all one little section, just pull the trash bag up, put the light on, put the trash bag back in the trash can, and there we go, we have lights. There's a lot of ways to hide them. You just have to figure that out first. And the reason I say that is because you only have so much length of this wire. And you're going to need to know how far from this ceiling is this going to be. And if you have to go, like if you need this much of your length to get to where you're going to hide it, well, you only have this many of your lights to be able to use. So you're going to need to know how many holes that you can poke in here. You don't want to decide, oh, I'm going to use all of these lights, and then you don't have any cord to run to your hiding spot. So it's a whole thing. Alright, so I'm going to use my little old pokey tool. I've used this a lot. I don't know where I got it. I think it came from Harbor Freight. I think there was a whole pack of these. There's like some that are bent. They look almost like a dentist tool. This one does. Okay, so because we're going through cardboard, I'm just going to look back here and find a place where I want this to go through. Try not to hit the rafter because you don't want to mess up the work you've already done. Now, I know that's not going to be big enough for my LED light to go through, so I'm just going to use like a toothpick type thing just to make that hole a little bit bigger. I don't want it too big. Just big enough. Is that big enough? That is not big enough. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to try to make it bigger, but not too big, is one of my ball tools. Let's see, it's a small one. But let's see if that made it bigger. It did. Okay, so that works. Now, when I do that, I'll put my LED in. And I usually will take a little masking tape or a little scotch tape and put it on the back. I didn't bring scotch tape or anything in here with me right now, and I'm not going to get up and go get it. But I'll put a little tape on the back just to hold that in place so I can see how that's working out. I'm going to make one more hole. We're going to pretend that I know where I'm hiding everything and what I'm doing, even though I don't. Because if I don't use these holes, it's easy for me to just cover them back up and not use them. Because I can just stick stuff up here. It's okay. You'll never know I've got a hole in this if I don't use it. Okay. Alright, let's turn that on. Okay, so now we've got some lights in behind here. Okay? And that's kind of going to be lit up. Where's my... If this does any better. Okay. You can see that's kind of lit up. You'll be able to see that I've got lights in there. It's going to give the illusion that there's light coming from the ceiling. So that's what we want. Fix my table. Okay, turn that light back on. Now, to disguise these, because I want to see the illusion of the light, I don't want to see the LED. I don't want to see that. I can take some moss. This is just from the craft department. You can get this anywhere. I picked this up at Walmart, actually, and it was on clearance for like $1.50. Yeah, buddy, I'll take some of that. And I liked it because it's already like brown. Some of it's kind of brownish. And I would imagine that if something's coming out of my ceiling, it's going to be brown. It's not going to be fresh and green. It's going to be gross. So it can pack in here these LEDs and just the skies. The fact that we've got full on LED lights, I just want the illusion. It'll look like attic dirt or insulation or whatever coming out of there. I don't know if you can tell that too much, but that's what it'll kind of look like. Okay, so now, and if you don't want to do lights fully, you don't have to. You can skip that part. Okay, so now let's just set this to the side because we don't want to fool with these anymore. And let's do the little bit of paint. Oh, I got this also. This makes good stuff to go in the rafters. Came from the Dollar Tree maybe a year ago. I think it's some kind of a netted ribbon, maybe. It was on a spool. I cut it and I've used it in a lot of different projects for a lot of different things. I've airbrushed through it. It's got a lot of different uses, but I just take scissors and cut little pieces of it and stick it up in there so it just looks like stuff coming out of those rafters. You can use whatever you want. If you've got some fiber feel that you want to maybe use some chalk pastels and give it a little bit of a pinky color to it, there's just some insulation coming right out of your rafters. I've done that before too. Alright, so I'm going to now color these wood beams that I made. We're going to color them. And I got my real fancy food container lids. I think these came from Sour Cream. So I'm going to use those. I'm going to use some burnt umber. I have some nutmeg brown and I have some white because we are going to give it a little bit of a dry brush. I do have a little bit of a green that I may add to that too because I want them to look a little bit yucky. So I've got my burnt umber. I'm going to add a little bit of water just to thin that out and make it a wash. I'm going to use the same brush that I used for my black earlier just because it's going to all blend together and give that burnt umber a darker color. So it'll be like a black brown maybe. Add a little more brown in there. I want it thin enough to give it a wash. And where's my paper towel? Okay. That's not thin enough. Okay. And we're just going to brush on these wood planks. You don't have to cover them all because we're going to give it another coat of a different color. And I don't want them all to be dark. I want to just give it some rough lumber look to it. I like mine to look rough. Okay. Now, I didn't need quite that much of that, but take more water because I used this brush. Let me get a totally different brush here. This one. Now, I'm going to use some of this nutmeg brown this time. Because it's a lighter brown. You can use whichever brown you want. You use whatever colors you want. If you want your rafters to be ash gray, whatever color, that's perfectly fine. It's your house, it's your rules. There's no right or wrong way. This is just the way I'm doing mine. So that's what we have so far. Right. I think I might want a little bit of this burnt sienna in there because, I don't know, just because it, let's add a little bit of that into my chestnut brown, into the wash I already have. It'll be a little bit thicker, but it's all right. Just brush a little of that in a couple of places. They all don't need to be covered, doesn't need to go on everywhere. Just want it to look like wood. Old wood. Yeah. Take a little bit more of this black or this burnt umber mixture that I had. I'm just going to rub a little bit of that over a couple of spots. I didn't add it back in there. It's just what's already on here. Okay. So there's what we have. Okay. Now the last thing that we're going to do, we're going to let this dry for a second. Let that soak into that wood for a minute. And we will grab one of these type of brushes that I like with the rough bristles that we're going to use for dry brush. Look, cat toy. And we will grab some of this. This is antique white. Put a little on my brush. Rub most of it off. And where some of these pieces are broken, where some of them lay on one another, on the sides of the boards, going down the sides of the boards, any part that I want to highlight, hey, let this part stand out, I'm going to dry brush it. And if you're like, oh no, that looks terrible, it's white paint, trust the process. I did not think I would like dry brushing white paint and I was going to ruin everything I had just done. When I first started doing dry brushing, it's like, oh my gosh, I just rubbed white paint all over everything I just did. But I trusted the process and it made a huge difference in the way my project came out in the end. At first, it's a little scary. That part don't look right. So let's go ahead and take some of this. Yeah, now it looks pretty good. That looks all moldy and mildewy. I've got too much white on my brush. I can tell you right now I do. Don't do that. Don't do what I just did. I had too much white on there. White will make a difference in your work, but don't put too much. Because you don't want to ruin it. And like we said before, white will bring forward things that need to come forward. Black pushes it to the back. And if you do like I did and you put too much white, it's easy to fix it. Just pick up some of your other color and go at it again and you might like the result. Okay. So, that, my friends, is what the painted result looks like. I hope that shows up. Okay. I'll take a picture and insert it as to what it looks like because it's hard to kind of see it. But that's it. That's all we have to do. And then we'll do this side, and I've already got that one. And then I'll be able to insert them into my room and be able to see where I want to put all the water damage, peeling paint, things like that, to complete this insertable ceiling. And this is just going to insert into my room over top of the existing ceiling. I like to do things like that, so if I decide I want to change things later, I can just pull this foam board out and change the ceiling. I do the same thing with those walls that I have in there in the same house. Those are made on mat board and they're not attached. They just slide in, and I can slide them right back out if I decide, you know, I don't want this look anymore. I want to change this. I want to change something about the room. I can slide that out. I can change it. I like that. It gives me options. I'm not tied to one thing at all. But thanks for coming into my living room and watching this video. If you've sat with me this long, I appreciate it. But that's how I do this ceiling with very simple things. Dollar Tree foam, some cardboard we already had, and some coffee stir sticks, and paint you probably already had because we used, what, 3 colors? 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. We didn't even put the green on there. So it was easy and it was fun. So